So, ladies and gents, I wanted to bring some more attention to this topic, anxiety and depression at university. It is my intention that this should be more widespread knowledge, as these mental conditions, these mental health ailments are heavily prevalent in the young men and young women at university. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to share my own personal experiences with my own mental health at university. And we're going to go on a little bit of a journey. I'm going to take you through year one, year two, and final year, and give you a kind of crash course in, well, if you're thinking about going to university, and what you have already experienced mentally at your time. So I'm going to share some very valuable tools that are going to be resourceful for yourselves whenever our depression or anxiety gets the better of us. But I guess I want to start over here with year one. So year one is one of two things are going to happen to you in year one. Depression is normally going to be heavily set in year one. When we first move from our safe, comfortable social circles back at home and we are thrust into a completely new environment, it naturally presents a challenge. It's almost like a rebirth. Actually, I have down here first death. So in a way, you die to yourself because you sever that umbilical cord, tethering yourself from the people you know at home. And also in that the person you think you are. So what happens is we learn a lot about ourselves in these 3 to 4 years, namely what kind of person and people you attract into your environment. You might do a little thought experiment now. Think about the people that you have made friendships and relationships with at university, and they're going to tell you a lot about the type of person you are. We naturally gravitate towards people that are more aligned with our personality. They are a reflection of you at this current time in your life. So, getting back to first year, I say this because the first year at university, again, one or two things are going to happen to you. Number one, you will either change and evolve your character. This is the route we all need to go down. By this, understand that the new environment you have integrated yourself into is molding you into a different person. Your experience will contrast greatly from that of your safe, comfortable home. You are in the company of new people, new places, and new opportunities, ultimately, which will be plentiful. And you will come to know that even after 6 months or so, or maybe even shorter, you have matured or perhaps immatured, depending on the paths and conditions that have presented themselves to you so far. On the other hand, I spoke about depression. We fight the change. We reject the people, we reject the environment and the notions that we are to become somebody different. Someone different that we were back home, and this is where the depression sets in, because we have to understand depression is of the past. When we get depressed, we are typically thinking about events that have already happened that we are clinging onto and replaying and rehearsing in our minds. So it presents itself and manifests itself in the ways we are too preoccupied with the glamorous and more comfortable known memories of the past. And we reject and deny the prospect of the unknown future. Some of us will even be forced to drop out at this point. So we either accept our evolution or we cling on to the safety net of home and who we think we are. And that is first year in a nutshell. Let's graduate onto second year. This is the year of anxiety. This is where anxiety starts to become more prevalent. We delineated that depression is of the past and anxiety is of the future. When we get anxious, we typically think about events that are coming towards us, and we start to replay and rehearse or how am I going to manage that particular scenario. So second year approaches, we may pass the first hurdle of the hero's journey. That's essentially the evolution aspect of year one, and fully immerse ourselves in the unknown. We are participating in the challenges we are meant to face. This is the natural progression we need to go down. However, as we progress in the evolution of who we are becoming, and we start to integrate parts of our character that we did not know we had, this can create a huge conflict in the fact that the very decision to begin on this journey, to choose the degree we have chosen, we might realize it was a little bit misplaced. We may come to understand how heavy and fraught with uncertainty a decision it is to commit to studying one thing for 3 to 4 years, not mentioning investing north of 40 grand's worth into a time, in a time where we were very mature. You know, I'm talking late teens, early 20s at most. What we are going to do for the rest of our lives at that young and immature age. What I'm trying to communicate is all of our personal growth, the person we are going to continue to be when we join with the corporate wide world, that personal growth happens at university, after the decision we have made to study and gain all the knowledge and the experiences necessary to participate in this corporate world. So you're living in a house with strangers. You now think about how your future career would have been far stronger and solidified with more degrees of certainty if you had picked something more sensible with a logical corporate path, like a recruitment or a manager that you can climb this ladder. There's a certainty in knowing where you're growing. There's a linear path to growth. However, now you need to contemplate and create this grand sentiment, this proposal in your final dissertation, which is really the crux and the pinnacle of all your values you hold in this degree, which is now in heavy dispute. You don't believe it anymore. You might not be fully committed to this path, and this again, anxiety. Looking into the future, where am I going? What am I doing? Why didn't I pick something more sensible? And I mean, I've written here anxiety and integration because we integrate with the characteristics that we did not know we had through the experience we learn at university when we leave the nest and we are left to our own devices. Final year. Final year is the climax of a catastrophe of emotions. It's something quite marvelous and spectacular actually, with both anxiety and depression violating us at every single corner. So I'm going to continue by illustrating anxiety's role as we embark on our mission to complete our behemoth task of doing our dissertation. In the same kind of skewed confidence we used to pick our degree. However, now, in that reality, next year we will be spat back into the world to be competing through interviews or jobs we frankly have little interest in pursuing. So, the reality some of you might have experienced is at one moment we are, you know, inebriated at a house party talking absolute nonsense about Joe Rogan podcast we saw, and the next month we're sat in a corporate office with a shirt and tie waiting to be interviewed for a job we have little certainty in is quite terrifying and overwhelming. That's anxiety again. These thoughts start to appear. I'm not ready for this. I'm not mature enough. Maybe I want to go traveling, and I'm definitely going to take a gap year or a year off. And then depression rears its head as we are desperately desperately trying to cling on to the memories of the past, of those wonderful university experiences, the nights out, house parties, friends, homes, and our independence, our lives that are going to be imminently crushed when we return back home, back into the comfortable confines of and the jurisdiction of mum and dad. This is what some of us might be feeling in the first weeks, actually. I've noted here this is the second death because when we consider the prospect that we need to return to a corporate world, we can't enjoy ourselves and have as much independence as we had at university, we again have to die. Part of our character needs to die, and that will happen first year when you come and you realize that, you know what, I like independence, I'm maturing as a person. And then year 3, I need to join the corporate world. I need to get back to reality because I cannot be drinking and smoking weed every other weekend. It's just not going to be conducive to my success. And again, so we start to swim in this depression, and we are determined to cling on to the identities of the past. The second death is the hardest because you've had a taste of the world without being influenced by your friends and family, in a way. Well, more the family aspect. In this way, the person you have become at university is going to be a more accurate representation of how you continue to conduct yourself through life and navigate making the choices you make, because you're more integrated. Year 2, you are more mature and more aligned with the person that you are going to be when you ultimately leave home. We can't stay at home forever. So that is the journey. I'm exhausted. That's terrifying to go through that. So we have depression versus evolution, anxiety with integration, and anxiety and depression. That clusterfuck at the end. It's not pretty. It's not it's a journey, but it's not without its trials and tribulations. I want to come back to the common theme here, which is anxiety and depression. So ladies and gentlemen, these emotions and feelings have a root in the head. They all stem from using the internal device, which is thinking. Depression, thinking into the past. Anxiety, thinking into the future. The most valuable resource that I used at university is understanding that we need to get out of the head and back into the body. Exercise was an invaluable resource for me. I could not, I probably would have had a mental breakdown if I had continued to use exercise as regularly as I did do. Unfortunately, year 3 really fucked me. But exercise is going to be a valuable resource for you. Meditation, I wish I had discovered that sooner. Just to be able to be present and in the moment is extraordinarily beneficial, because we start getting out of this thinking modality and back into the present moment, into the body. I do speak about this topic a lot. If you are more interested in understanding the mechanisms, because again, I know a surface level understanding, well, just exercise and you'll be fine. Why though? Why? We're told this, but I want an understanding. I want you to know and understand why it's going to be resourceful. So I have a lot of other videos on the mechanics of why and how exercise and meditation mediates and negates these stresses of anxiety and depression. So please have a look at that. In short, get out of your head, be in your body, okay? And if this was a valuable experience, if you enjoyed this journey, if you found some resonance in my experiences, then please subscribe, like the video, and join the dialogue below. I would like to know what you found resourceful for yourselves when you were at university, or if you're currently at university now. It is a topic that needs so much more attention, because there are people suffering. There are people going through this right now. They are depressed, anxious, and then they're getting fucked at the end in anxiety and depression in final year. We've all been there. We all resonate with that kind of feeling. We need to give our the millennials and the young people of the world more information, more education, and more practical actions to take that are going to negate their mental health. So I will leave you with that, and I'll see you next time.